Hello everybody and welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons! CJ's in town. Neat. Gives me something to do today, I suppose. Let's get real, Steven. Every outfit needs a centerpiece, a little pop of color that pulls the whole thing together. Accessories really are the workhorses of the fashion world. Well, accessories and buttons. Fashion first, Tutu. We got Pinky and Tutu trying to, dress me up. Pinky's giving me the outfits, Tutu's giving me the accessories. So what we got? A faux fur bag. It works. So yeah, now that I've streamed far enough through PSO2 to actually be able to talk about this, I would talk more about Risa. Because I can now. I mean, I could have before. The chances that y'all watching this also watch my PSO2 streams, very minimal. Sorry, I'm in the middle of something right now. Jump 2. Currently crafting a spooky trick lamp. Just see how I do at it. You know, it's great to learn by doing. Totally obsessed with it. Yes, I do. I'd love to learn. So, yeah, Risa's a lot cooler than she might initially appear. So, basically, Risa is the first cast. She's not just an early cast, which is how she's portrayed early on, as an early cast. No, she is quite literally the first cast. She was created from basically a highly adept photon user that was a photoneer, one of the original peoples of that universe, to serve as the host for Harriet. She is Harriet. Oh, superstars, sparkles, what's the latest? Would you love being outside when the weather's like this? You need to have a picnic sometime. It is raining and windy in real life for me, so no, I don't really like that. Yeah, Risa is ancient, basically. And is basically only even working with ARCs because she wants to see firsthand the fall spawn and ARCs destroy each other. So that basically she knows which one she has to step in and destroy afterwards. Because ARCs are doing basically the exact same things that the fall spawn are, so, you know. Or at least they're doing the same things the photoneers used to do. And the photoneers ended up creating the false spawn in their ignorance. So you could imagine that she's basically standing there going, yeah, you idiots are going to create more dark, more dark falls, more false spawn. You're gonna do it. So I want to be here to kill you when you start. You know. Which makes it all the more funny that she is actually allowed to shoot anybody 3 times. Only 3 times. She only gets 3 shots. But she is allowed. Can't wait to touch a fish. You do that, my man. Please don't lick it. You'll traumatize the poor thing. Even the sky be fishing. I feel like you're staring at me and it's making me nervous. Oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to. Just wanted to have a chat. Also, I do want to say, this is completely off topic. I'm mildly annoyed at the moment. Knowing that at any moment today, between basically now and end of the day, my phone's gonna ring. Being contacted by the manager at the store. And it might not even be today. It could be tomorrow. It could be the day after tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know exactly when. Presumably, and hopefully, today. Because I'd really rather not leave my phone off of Do Not Disturb for that long. it's already going to be immensely annoying and difficult to sleep with it off Do Not Disturb, so I might just not sleep. Oh, hi there, Steven. Sorry, I was thinking really hard and didn't notice you. Kinda thinking of, moving. But you can learn how to do that here. No leaving. No, I don't. I want Serrano to move. Yeah, it'd make me super sad. Silent is your home. I'm glad you did too. Freaking... Why is it everyone except Serrano wants to leave? I was doing so good about that as well. It's just, I want Serrano to leave, and if everyone else keeps leaving, I get the feeling he's never going to. Blah. I know I could use amiibo cards to replace him, and quite honestly, I might... I might do that. Yeah, like, that manager is in right now. They could contact me right now. And like 8 AM is a pretty reasonable time to contact anybody that's looking for work. 8 AM is going to be late night for a night worker and early morning for a day worker. Either way, they're probably gonna be awake. And if they aren't awake, well, that in of itself is a problem, because they're not gonna match up with either night or day. You know, they're just not gonna manage either shift time, which that would be a problem. I'm gonna go with these. But like, I get the feeling it's gonna be at like 11 or like 2 PM. You know, one of those really inconvenient for a night shift times for the person who's applied to a night shift. Hey there, Steven. What are you looking for today? Not so fast. You want to buy something in this store, you gotta go through me. It's gonna be so annoying. And like, it literally shouldn't matter to the manager at all if they contact me right now or 6 hours from now. The same amount of their time is going to get used. One would think in the early morning, that would be the best time to do it. Because, especially on, you know, what is in reality a Tuesday, there's probably not that many people coming into the store at 8 AM. They probably don't have much going on that needs their attention right away. So bring this to me, but it's not mine. A diva deal. Alright. We're dealing divas. Like, right now it just feels like the opportune time, but no. No, it's probably gonna be later. It's gonna probably wake me up. And then that'll probably get used against me somehow. Or if I stay up and end up yawning, that's also gonna be probably used against me. There's just no winning. There's no winning here. The reason I'm up is so I can check on my flowers. There's not enough coffee in the world to convince me that being awake this early is ever a good idea. That's a mood. That's a mood. I don't even drink that much coffee anymore. Oh, CJ's way up there today. He's trying to be king of the mountain. But, yeah, back PSO2. Specifically Risa. Risa / Harriet. Like, they're literally two minds in one body. Now, the theories around it is that they are the same person. Even still. Pick up, thank you. Now, the reason why that is still just a theory and not something that's not what I wanted to do at all. There we go. The reason that's still just a theory and not, like, totally confirmed is basically, like, it's not set in game. it is said that they share a vessel, that, you know, Gala's coming over visiting. Steven, come in and join Gala. Tell that. Stop for a chat. So excited to be hosting some of my favorite neighbors here in my own home. What a rare treat. Tell that. Am I overdoing it? You don't want to sound like I'm all desperate or something. Nah, you're good. Getting to hang out with both of you makes me happy, Snorty. Let's talk. Oh, this furniture just screams Marna. He says to me, Snorty. I wonder what interior design magazines she reads. Should probably just ask her. Yeah, you probably should. And of course it does. It's all pink. And she's pink. And you're pink. So it also screams Gala. Pink. Now, there are people like me who are fully on board with, yes, they are the same person. But, and that, you know, that's basically just going off of the fact that, you know, we have talked with Harriet without her cosmogenic arm form being there. You know, she was just part of Risa, which, from what we've seen from the other cosmogenic arm that is also a person, that shouldn't be possible unless Harriet is Risa. Now, that is a shouldn't. It doesn't mean can't. But it shouldn't be possible. Now, there are some people who will argue, no, they're totally different people. But, I honestly do think that there is two souls within Risa at this point. But that's purely on account of Harriet's own story. So, to explain Harriet, and by extension Shiva, basically, Harriet was born of a fake body that basically had a bunch of photons dumped into it until that body ended up developing a soul, a heart. It developed, it became a person. Then, the Photoneers, having created the profound darkness, something that was threatening to destroy the whole universe, decided to take the Patrick Star approach to things, and take their problem and shove it somewhere else, and that somewhere else was Harriet's body. Now, to do this, they needed to get that pesky soul out of there, so they just took the soul out somehow. And then it ended up being put into Risa, the first ever cast. And basically the way Risa explains it is Risa was created and was extremely unstable. Harriet was ripped out of her body and equally extremely unstable. And then when the two got put together, they both equalized each other and stabilized. So, you know, it worked out. But there's no real, like, was the cast Risa unstable because it was a person that's had their mind forcefully shoved into a robot body? Or was it an unstable Risa because Risa was just a bunch of photons? And then having Harriet introduced to it stabilized them. We don't know. But I think at this point, Risa has developed a soul of her own. Especially because the Harriet side of her lay dormant for just so long. Now, is Diva still asleep? Yes. 8:20, Diva. Well, time to get up. It's So, yeah. At this point, I do firmly believe they are now two different people, but initially, I honestly do think they are the same person. But yeah, Shiva, goddess of annihilation, is the result of the profound darkness being shoved into Harriet's old body and then banished into another dimension. Because that just seems to be what the Photoneers just did. They didn't like something, they just pushed it somewhere else. The Patrick Star approach. And it never works. You gotta actually deal with your problems. The kind of funny thing is that, you know, through all of their failings to deal with their own problems, you later in the timeline with worse technology, because they do follow the trope of super advanced ancient civilization, but at least in this case it makes some level of sense, because all of it is sci-fi. It's not like, you know, what you hear a lot in like conspiracy theories of like, oh, there was a super advanced civilization on Earth that there's somehow no trace of left. We left traces. Anyone would leave traces. But like, this is at least sci-fi to sci-fi, so it makes some level of sense that you could have a technological dark ages, basically. You know, technological blackout, you know. If everybody gets wiped out and you basically have to start again from the scraps, your technology's not going to be as good, you know. So that, it makes sense. But we, later in the timeline, with worse technology, defeat the primordial darkness. / profound darkness. Only we fight it on an even deeper, more primordial form. Hence, primordial darkness. So we're fighting it even stronger. With worse technology. We win. Really selling how advanced the Photoners were. They were so hopeless. Yeah, I will say I'm currently debating if I even want to try to sleep today. Which does mean that, like, tomorrow's episode might end up being, like, super late, maybe even after the shops close. I don't know yet. Because I don't know when I'll be awake for tomorrow's episode. Because, like, I don't even know if I'll be able to sleep. I'm tired. Don't get me wrong, I am tired. But 3 big-time fish. Alright, 3 big boys. Yep, I'm aware, CJ. Here's the point. I'm yawning. But, yeah. As much as I would love to sleep, I honestly don't think I can. I mean, I've noticed my phone vibrate and do stuff now that I've got it off Do Not Disturb multiple times already. Because I do this fun thing called Play Pokemon Go. It doesn't matter what I start with. If this is big, then it's big. If it's not, it's just an extra fish to sell. And yeah, your phone notifies you every time your Pokemon get knocked out of a gym. Alright, that's a big fish. Didn't know daps were big. But the old dap. Oh, it's a dab. I said dap, so it's a dap now. It's very dapper. Yeah, I capture a lot of gyms when I'm out. Because, you know, I want to basically make sure that I get my, there's my fishing rod. I want to make sure I get my 50 Pokecoins for the day. So I capture a lot of gyms. And that means periodically throughout the day, those gyms get captured by the other teams. And I get notified when my Pokemon get knocked out. And because I can't leave my phone on Do Not Disturb. Problems. It'd be so much easier if my body was just on normal and I was applying for like a day shift, because then I'd be awake throughout the day anyway and it wouldn't be an issue. But I'm not a normal. I'm awake at night. I could try being awake during the day again, because apparently, even though there was no positions on their career page for day shifts for this department, apparently that manager desperately needs day shift workers, doesn't so much need night shifts. And why were you hiring for nights? Makes me want to just apply to the other night shifts then, because they apparently might actually need night shifts. Like, I don't get it. The whole process is just annoying, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm gonna get into this little rant, because you see quite often people and businesses both complaining that nobody wants to work anymore. I do! I'm trying! And I've been taking you all more or less on this journey with me. Like, sure, I could be the whole time going around and still applying to other places, applying to other positions. I really can't do that with the store I'm applying to, because every time I apply to a position, I basically have to use a new browser to do it, because for whatever reason, their AI system does not like letting you apply to multiple positions. Which is a problem. It does mean I could do 2 more applications on my computer and 2 more on my phone. Because I have 2 browsers on my phone and I have 2 browsers left I can use on my PC. I hope the absurdity of that sort of sets in, for one, that I've had to go through multiple web browsers to apply to multiple positions at the same store already. But let's imagine I do just go apply to other places. There's a couple other places around hiring within walking distance. One of which I had just saw a help wanted sign for like 2 nights ago. And it's literally just a help wanted sign. They don't have a job listing anywhere. It's just a help wanted sign. Which, in this age where 99.99% of other jobs are being applied for exclusively online, that's very much not helpful. Because, you know, just because this one company is doing that doesn't mean any others are going to. But I've worked at the place I've applied to before. The place that I was supposed to have an interview at. And I'm waiting on a manager to call me from, to probably reschedule the interview. How do you think it would go if I completely ghosted them on the interview, given I've worked for them before and a new employer could call them? So unless I removed them from my resume, it probably wouldn't go very well for me to completely ignore them and ghost them. Unless I got the job, but before I got through all this stuff. And given there is literally, like, 2 places I've seen within walking distance of me, reasonable walking distance, that I could even apply to. Not that I qualify for, that I could apply to. One of those places I don't qualify for. They're looking for a pharmacist. I'm a pharmacist, but I'm no pharmacist. I could seriously mess people up by giving them the wrong stuff. And the other is potentially a position I don't qualify for, because it's just a help wanted sign at a pizza place. That could be anything from a server to a cook to a manager. I don't know what that entails. Because again, they don't have a job listing. I don't know what they're looking for, so I don't even know if I qualify for that. This place is my only real option, and you can see the hurdles I'm having to jump through to even try to get work there. Already knowing I'm not going to be given the hours to actually live off of. Keep that one in mind as well. I'm applying knowing I'm probably only going to get maybe 16 to 24 hours a week. Minimum wage. Because they can say they're desperate for workers all they want. They were desperate for workers when I was hired there the first time, too. They were desperate for workers when I was cut down to 8 hours a week. Because they are desperate for workers. Because almost, I haven't looked into this. This is purely conjecture. But it definitely feels like they get tax breaks for employing people. Not giving people hours, but employing people. So they're just looking to employ as many people as they can and not giving those people hours because they don't need to give them hours. They just need to employ them and give them a bare minimum to say these people work here so they can presumably get tax breaks for creating jobs. So that's why they desperately need workers. It's not that they need workers, it's that they need workers. In heavy quotes. Of which I know George Carlin will be very upset with me for going like this, but let's be real, there's very few other ways you could really emphasize how kind of just asinine it is that they claim to need workers when they really don't, because what they need to do is just give the workers they have hours. Because having like 100 employees but not giving any of them enough hours to actually live off of doesn't do you any good. It just means you're just going to lose your employees the moment some other job offers a position that they could apply to and get enough hours to live off of. Like, it is immensely frustrating trying to get a job in today's climate. Because nobody wants to hire you for 40 hours. Nobody. Nobody wants to pay you the equivalent of a 40-hour week for less than 40 hours. But 40 hours a week, even at our minimum wage of $16.50 an hour, yeah, that's still not enough. Like, the economy around the entire world is so shit that, like, and I want to explain this because it more or less is, I'm explaining this for people who don't understand why people younger than me have already given up. I mean, I'm basically given up. I'll admit it. I've basically given up on life. And the reason for that is just everything is so economically shit that, like, unless this pipe dream works out, I will never make enough money to support myself. Unless the economy collapses and completely rebuilds itself. You know. What would be nice, and what would also help, and I know there's going to be people who would absolutely hate this idea, and I'm not saying we should do this, I'm just saying it would help, is if we remove the ability to transfer wealth and high-value assets via wills. And we make it so that somebody with, unless their death is accidental, cannot, any transfers they do of wealth and high value property within the last, 2 years of their life are rendered completely null and void the moment they die. That way, the people that have hoarded all of the wealth, all of the property, all of the valuable assets, can't just hand them down to their children. They had their chance to do that, and they chose not to until they were dead. Because a lot of very rich people have the mindset of, well, they can't give their kids too much money because then they'll spend it and then they won't have it. Well, yeah, wealth exists to be spent. It doesn't exist to be hoarded. Even wealthy merchants of the past spent their wealth to buy valuable objects, which kept that wealth in circulation and very much aided with the prosperity of everybody. Like, that's how things should be. That's how trickle-down economics are described. And in a perfect world, that is how they would work. Like, let's say you're a poor artisan, barely making it by, but you make a killer mug. You make a really cool-looking mug. And some rich person comes along and goes, I enjoy your mug. I will pay you 120% of your price and buy 20 of them. Therefore, paying your rent for the month, basically. So now any profits you make on top of that, that's just extra profits. Except what really happens is, they might come along, they might buy one mug at normal price. They might even try to convince you to sell it to them for less because they're just so wealthy and well known. Like, they're going to get this. They're going to go on their Instagram stories with your mug, and the amount of attention you will get from that will be outrageous. You'll make it from them showing off your mug, so give it to them for free or for like half price. And if you're desperate enough, you might actually do that and then get nothing out of it. Because it's not going to do anything, and they're not actually going to shout you out in any way. They might have your mug in frame, but like no one's going to be like, hey, cool mug. Where'd you get that? Because that's just how wealthy people work. Though, more accurately, they'll probably see your mug. They might even take pictures of your mug. And then they'll turn to their wealthy friend who runs a production company of various goods and go, make this. I want it. And then have that made for them by their wealthy friend, who will probably just give it to them. Because that's how it works these days. Quite simply, and this may sound probably a little too communist for a lot of people's liking. The wealthy own the means of production. They should not own the means of production. Like, let's go back to the past. Way before shitty games that sucked. Curse word. Let's say early 12 to 1500s. Do you think the people who owned the coal mines also owned the things that coal was being used for? No. They have a coal mine to manage. They don't have the time to run 8 other businesses. They got one. It's very successful. It's making them a good amount of money. They're probably the wealthiest person in their town because they own the local coal mine. But they don't also own, you know, the furnace factory. Wouldn't be furnaces. I don't think they'd call them that then, but, you know, they wouldn't own the blacksmiths. They wouldn't own everything that coal is used for as well. These days, the same people that own these metaphorical coal mines own everything that those metaphorical coal mines are being used to create, too. There is no separation. They own all of the line of production, and thus are making all the profit. Heck, look no further than some companies like Apple. They don't even try to hide it. They make their own silicone, which they basically own the various places their silicone itself is made from. All the rare earth minerals that go into their devices, they basically own those means of production. They put it all together. They do absolutely everything in-house, basically. And then turn around and go, you know this iPhone that has very basically identical specs to this Android phone, but a better camera. This Android phone's about like $40, $60. Add a zero to the end. That's what you're paying for Apple. And they have the best deals. They quite literally could not be getting a better deal. Let's go to another product. Coffee beans. The same companies that own, well, that make, say, ground coffee. Think Folgers, Maxwell House. They basically own the coffee bean plantations that their coffee beans come from. They quite literally could sell those to you for the price of the coffee bean and break even. They don't. They sell those to you at a massive markup. Because they can. All along the way is just free. Especially where a lot of coffee beans are grown in places where people are grossly underpaid. So they're paying practically pennies on the dollar for labor. And then the most expensive part of the whole procedure is probably the plastic container that they ship it to you in. Like, if you're ever wondering why the world's economy is so screwed, right there is why. The wealthy not only hoard their wealth, but also own the means of production, as well as, the entire assembly line. They own it all. Which is also where generally smaller production companies, smaller companies trying to make things, innovate, bring about new products and such, just can't compete. Like, imagine a brand new company showing up that's not just reusing parts from other people. Like, they're trying to actually do things themselves. Imagine that new company making a phone. So we'll go a step further. Just simply making a graphics chip. They can't compete. They'll never be able to compete. Their product will be worse and more expensive. Even when the big companies try to do this stuff, their product is worse and more expensive. So what hope does a small company have? A small company doing things in a more ethical way? Like, Man, I've gotten on quite the rant here. Can you tell I'm frustrated with the state of the world? Like, I always want to hope it'll get better. But, like, there is no getting better. Not until wealth can actually be distributed. Like, ideally, in an ideal world, the person that owns the metaphorical coal mine would not also own the furnace company. And would not be allowed to. Would not be allowed to even be friends with the person who owns the furnace company. Because a friend might give a friend a sweetheart deal. But actual competitors that all need to make money along this chain, they're not going to be giving anybody sweetheart deals. Because ultimately, that person running the coal mine still needs a furnace. They still need, you know, they still need a furnace for the cabin that their miners sleep in to keep them warm at night. So they do gotta buy a furnace. And if they're actual competitors that all need to make money and all need to spend their money buying goods from each other, then suddenly money gets changed hands. And then, shockingly, in this kind of system, you also don't really need taxes. Though taxes would still exist, they would be considerably lower. Because money would actually be changing hands. Which, I know this may come as a bit of a shock. That's the primary reason for taxes, is because governments know if they didn't force you to give up your money, you wouldn't. Because all humans are like that. I'll admit it, I wouldn't. If I had immense wealth, I wouldn't want to just give it up. I'm not better than any of these rich folks, I just don't have money. Like, though I say that, I feel like I would be more generous than most. But, you know, like, imagining if, like, my channel here took off. I would probably, rather than, as much as I enjoy editing, I would probably hand off editing to somebody and pay them a pretty good wage for editing for me. Like, this wouldn't be exact figures, but, like, if I had the money to do it, it'd be basically, like, you know, $100 per hour of footage they edit. You know, something along those lines. Basically pay them based on the amount of footage I give them. Or if they do a lot of work to that footage, like if they took, you know, this episode, which is probably going to be well over 50 minutes, and managed to cut it down into, like, you know, 20 minutes, made it really funny with, like, snappy cuts, and, like, cut out a lot of the chaff that really doesn't need to exist in all this. That's just me, you know, rambling on and ambling on, and not really saying anything. Then I'd probably pay them more for that. Even though they'd still be having been, they'd still have been given like the 50 minutes to an hour of footage, so they'd still get that hour of footage. So in this case, like $100. I'd be like, hey, here's an extra like 50 because you made it really good. You know, I'd also pay them more based on how those videos themselves do. You know, like, because as much as I would definitely want to be able to keep a good amount of money for myself so that I could support myself and live and, you know, not need to ever rely on others, I'd also want the people who work for me to be able to do that. You know, like, I wouldn't want them not able to work for, you know, not be able to live off of what I'm paying. Because I'd want them to be able to keep working for me. That's the idea of hiring them, is I want them to work for me, you know. It's just... The world is so annoying. But, like, if you have ever wondered just why, like, Gen Z and younger have already given up, they can see this. And I'm not saying this to be insulting to people older than me who may not see this, because you made it. You did it. Congrats. You happened to be alive and old enough during the last recession. You did it. You made it. We weren't. Like... the last big recession, like, is what made it so that a lot of people older, one, got houses cheap, got, you know, back then jobs where you were hired full-time. Unless it was a part-time job, in which case it was actually part-time. This, you know, in the job description that actually mattered, because that generally meant you were probably only going to get about 24 hours a week. It was part-time. Part-time being part of the normal hours a person was expected to work. These days, every job is part-time. There are no full-time positions being offered anymore. So no one has any amount of guarantee or security in their jobs. Like, it's frustrating. Because, like, we can see how people older than us got to where they are. We can see it. And boy howdy would it be nice if that happened again. Except for those people who are now older than us, because y'all would lose big. Probably. Maybe. As long as you didn't panic sell your assets, you'd probably be fine, if I'm honest. But, you know, boy howdy would it be nice if the world could go back to jobs being full-time and, you know, another recession, so housing prices drop, rent prices go down. Quite literally, in my lifetime, and I want to actually guess how much I've got this time, so I'm going to wait to talk with CJ. In my lifetime of actually looking at rental prices, so basically from about the time I was 14 till now, so about 15 years, rent for a single bedroom apartment, not bachelors, an actual single bedroom apartment. In the town I grew up in, around when I was 14, 15, that was about $400. In 15 years, that's climbed for a single bedroom apartment to about $1,600. The price has basically quadrupled in 15 years. Wage went from about $10 an hour to it's now $16.50 an hour. Wages have gone up about 50%. While rent prices have gone up about 400%. You see the problem? See why people have given up? Really, there should be caps on rent prices, and it should be based on minimum wage. I don't care if the mortgage on your building is that high. I don't care. Alright, buy my fish, CJ. Alright. I do get a pike. Pikes are pretty expensive. I remember that last set of fish was $1,500. But I got a pike this time. 18.8. 15. Should start with 15 again. I was only about 3,100 off, though, so I'm not going to take it, but I was close. Like... And that isn't to say that people in my generation and age group can't make it. I have a friend who recently did. But at the same time, I do want to put an asterisk on that. I'm really proud of her. And I know she watches these. I'm so proud of you. I am. Do not take this as I'm trying to belittle you in any way. Her and her partner both work. That is a 2-income household. What they're doing on 2 incomes, they needed 2 incomes to do, used to be doable on 1 minimum wage income. Like, they're not, as far as I know, neither of them are making minimum wage. Like, they are a decently high wage family. That's what it took. Like, they both needed to be working above minimum wage to get a home. And even then, like, not everyone can do that. You know, because it depends on the area you're in, what's available, the town I'm living in, every house that goes on the market for anything under like $500,000 is almost instantly bought up by rental companies to turn into rental properties. Sometimes before they even reach abilities of the common person to buy them. Like, and these rental companies, like, the main ones that do things in the town I live in are based in Ontario, halfway across the country. Make that make sense. Why they're allowed to do this? In my mind, they shouldn't be. And admittedly, the government of Nova Scotia has been attempting to do things about that by basically making it be like, oh, well, if you have rental properties here, you yourself have to live here for X amount of months. Unless it's a company that owns those properties, in which case, what do? You can't make the whole company come live here. The CEO themselves being, oh no, they have to take a vacation. You know, it doesn't work. Quite honestly, I feel like businesses should not be able to own residential property unless that property is an apartment building that was built as an apartment building or duplex. I say this because a lot of these rental companies will buy up a house, tear that house to shreds, put in multiple entrances, and turn a 2 to 3 bedroom house into an apartment building of multiple units. Sometimes they'll take a 2-bedroom house and turn it into a 4-unit bachelor apartment complex, which is now useless if anyone ever actually purchases that home again to try to make it into a home. They now have to rip it all apart and rebuild the house, because now every single, now each floor is separated into, well, here's a bathroom and a big empty space. And here's a bathroom and a big empty space. And here's a bathroom and a big empty space. And here's a bathroom and a big empty space. Like, that's not useful for a house. Like, yeah, I'm gonna stop ranting now because I've been ranting and rambling for so long. My throat is starting to get sore. I've also, just looking at how long this recording's been going, for about 57 minutes. Don't know how much of that's actually in the video, probably about 54, 55 minutes. I will try to get Diva her thing, but yeah, that's just gonna be some point today. Probably later, I don't know. But with all that rambling and ranting out of the way, I thank you all very much for watching, and hopefully I shall see you back here tomorrow for more Animal Crossing New Horizons. See you all then.